I can vividly remember being so worried about moving up a year. I ended up in tears over it. And no, it wasn't going into one of the stressful or important exam years, not even going from primary to high school. It was just as a little kid at primary school, and I got myself all in tears about the prospect of moving up from the infants to the juniors. And that would be like moving from like year 3 to year 4 over here in Australia. And it sounds crazy now, but that change in stage, infants to juniors, had me all worried that the work was suddenly going to get loads harder and I'd suddenly feel out of my depth and unable to cope with all that new big kids work. Now luckily my mum must have done a pretty good job of talking it through with me and making me feel better, because I don't remember ever having had such a strong sort of reaction to a change in year group as I did over that once. Although certainly a few start of a new year butterflies definitely crept in from time to time. But those sorts of feelings can come up at any point. Those nerves and anxiety, particularly when there's a notable up-leveling in the labelling or the events of a particular year group. For example, moving from middle to high school or into those senior years of 11 and 12. So here's what your teen can expect and should be ready to look out for in their new year group, so that they're not only feeling cool and calm about what lies ahead, but can also really make the most of the opportunities that are going to present themselves to show their best work. Yikes, it is year 12 for your teen. You're probably wondering how on earth they're in year 12 already, right? Where did those high school years go? Well, it is the final year, and a particularly important one if they want to give themselves as many future opportunities as possible, including those pathways and directions they might not even thought of or might not even think they want to go in right now. You know, I never went straight into teaching. I worked in environmental science and conservation for my first few years out of uni. And my sister actually started out working with artists and corporate commissions when she left school at 18. Then she went and worked in the marketing department for the Birmingham Royal Ballet. And now, total about turn, she's a vet. She was very glad she'd gotten good grades the first time around that got her into vet school like about eight years later, even though she didn't need them for what she thought she was going to do with her life at the time. So, with maximizing success and future choices and those options and opportunities all in mind, here's what to look out for and be ready for in year 12. The types of tasks and assessments are going to be similar to year 11, including essays, inquiries, research, assignments, and investigations. A lot of what's done in year 11 is kind of a dry run for year 12. So your teen should be fairly familiar with these by now and be confident in tackling them. Therefore, what's really going to pay off is being able to optimize these opportunities to operate at the highest levels of cognitive ability, to respond at the highest levels of Bloom's taxonomy. And by the way, if you're not sure what I mean by any of that and that technical wording, then be sure to come to my upcoming Term 1 Parent Info event. It'll be online and I'm going to be sending out details next week, so look out for that. Now, one way is to strategically select a topic or focus for any open task, one that provides the greatest opportunity to incorporate high-level info and demonstrate high-level analytical and evaluative skills. Also, not to mention one that gives high-quality research and information that's not so time-consuming to find. Now, I recorded a blog video specifically on this. Just search the Great Transformation blog for choosing a great topic for an open-ended task. And of course, there are those final exams. It's essential for your teen to know and have had plenty of practice in the 6 elements of exam technique, that they're clear and succinct in their answers whilst also providing the required depth and detail of a question. And they need to be familiar with mark schemes and how they work, so that they can almost predict what it would say in that mark scheme when they're faced with any question on an exam paper. Now, I know that's a lot to consider, which is why I teach all of these things in my 10-week Great Transformation program, as well as the skills and techniques of active revision and revision planning. Because when it comes to revision, there's nothing worse than seeing a student studying hard, but revising in all the wrong ways. It's So quick bonus tip, they need to be using active rather than passive revision strategies. Okay, to sum up, have your team keep in mind this year how they can manipulate tasks to allow them to operate and respond at the highest levels. Think about, have they nailed those 6 elements of exam technique? And do they know if their revision techniques are what we call active and scientifically proven to be effective? I'm Katie Price, Grade Transformation expert, and I really hope that information helps with any new school year nerves or butterflies and gives you some useful tips. So leave me a comment or drop me an email and let me know what's the thing your team's most concerned about for the next school year, or the thing they're most looking forward to. And be sure to look out for my Term 1 parent information event coming up next week. It's totally free and has a new Netflix style twist for 2019. So here's to a super happy and successful year ahead, and until next week, let's make this a fantastic week.